Monopolist is essentially inefficient. Let's talk about a monopolist again. So, here is the demand curve, here is your marginal revenue curve, here is quantity, here is price, and suppose this is the marginal cost curve again to keep things simple. What quantity and what price will a monopolist charge? So, you will produce this quantity and charge a price of, so Q 0, P 0, right, as usual. Now, if this industry which is currently monopolized, had it been a competitive industry, how much would have been produced? How does a perfectly competitive firm decide on quantity? It cannot decide on prices. So, how does it decide? Price equal to marginal cost. So, in this case you could say that then actually the quantity would have been higher. This is the quantity, competitive quantity, and this is the competitive price. If this guy had been competitive, he would have set price equal to marginal cost. This is your marginal cost. You go to the point where the marginal cost curve cuts the demand curve, that would have been the output. So, the price would have been lower and the quantity would have been higher, right. So, what is happening because of monopolization? So, what has happened? This, if with perfect competition, this big triangle would have been the consumer surplus. Now, due to monopolization, the consumer surplus has shrunk. Some of it has gone to the monopolist as profit, but then some of it has disappeared. So, this is your deadweight loss. So, this is the loss due to monopolization. Why is that a loss? What is the profit of the monopolist? This area is the profit of the monopolist, right. So, this much money has gone out of the consumer's pocket into the monopolist's pocket, but there is a loss beyond that, and the loss is because the monopolist produces less. Consequently, there are people here on this part of the demand curve, right, who would have bought, who are willing to buy if the price was lower, and the monopolist would also be willing to sell to them, because the monopolist would make money, right, because the price would still be greater than the marginal cost or the average cost. So, there is money to be made. The monopolist would happily produce this much. So, why doesn't it? Well, if we could first sell to these guys and then sell at a lower price to the rest of the people, then it would make sense. But because he has to charge only one price to everybody, consequently, it does not make sense for him to sell to these people, because that way his profit would get reduced. So, actually the monopolist is inefficient because the monopoly as a market structure loses out on opportunities for trade. Both the buyers and the sellers would have been better off. Monopolist and the buyers would be better off if the monopolist were to sell at a lower price to these guys, but that opportunity is lost. So, that is why the monopoly is an inefficient market structure.